here we are, and it's another great evening with Live Talk with Becky Chernek. And I have a great guest speaker on tonight. And Lincoln, it is certainly a pleasure to have you on tonight with us or with me. And so we have a lot to dive into tonight. We don't have a lot of time either because you are on to another meeting this evening. And so to get things going, first and foremost, well, I want to talk about your background because I know your background is so important. We're going to be talking about, turnover in dealerships. I mean, to tell you, I mean, why this continues to happen is beside me. I don't get it. Why we have this, 30-day mentality. Let's get a body on the floor. Let's just see how long we can get this person or give them that 30-day, how long can we get them to stick, right? And so, are we really diving into the talents of these individuals that we're hiring? And we have to know that, if they don't last, it means that we have a tremendous amount of disruption in the stores. We're minimizing our profits and what we're doing in the dealership as a culture, what we're saying to the rest of the folks there. So, also, a little bit about me as well. I've been providing the very best in finance and insurance training for automotive dealers for a very long time. I grew up in the car business, guys, and my dad was a dealer in Havertide, Maryland, and so you can certainly say I've got my roots from my dad. But later on, well, I got to tell you, Lincoln, Dad never wanted me to be a car person. He wanted me to be a TV reporter. Go figure, Dad, you'd be so happy today, right, with my life. And then, anyway, so I went on to school, then later on selling cars, and then got promoted into F&I and thought, man, my life, I just loved it. And I knew I could really knock it out of the park, and I did. And then later became a director of finance for some big stores in the Washington, D.C. area. I'm from Maryland. And then later get promoted to working with one of the best industry people at JM&A and learned so much. Traveled throughout the USA, specialists, you name it, in dealerships all over the country. And then get promoted into the AutoNation division. So, and then founded my company on these same best practices, providing dealers with exceptional finance and insurance training. And I really help dealers really to maximize their profits and determine their profit leaks and also their strengths. So it's not all about weakness. It's all about strengths and weaknesses and really making a big difference. So that's who I am. That's what I do. That's what I hope that dealers understand that, man, if I want a big change in F&I, you got to call Becky Chernek. That's who you got to call. And, some of these, I get some of these dealers have these F&I partners, but at this, do they really get in there and make a big impact? So anyway, that's me. Here we are, Lincoln. And thank you for allowing me this couple moments with Becky Chernek and my commercial. So tell everyone, if you will, about yourself, what you do, how you do it, and everything about. I know you recently wrote a book as well. You're an author of Passion with Service or Service with Passion. Let's talk about it.
Well, Becky, I'll focus my background on the auto industry. My last corporate job was at Cox Automotive, and I got to visit many dealers and speak to them about selling cars with passion. I got to go to Mannheim, all the KBB, all the different companies. I learned a lot about the auto industry. But, way back, when I was in between jobs, and a friend said to me, If you're looking for a job, you can go sell cars. You can sell, right? Yeah, I have a sales background. I sold life insurance before. And so I walked into the Bird Road Mazda dealership. I was living in Miami at the time, and they hired me on the spot. So I got engaged in the auto industry as a salesperson at first. To be honest and very transparent with you, I didn't feel as if I fit into the culture because it was so unprofessional. And, the guys were more interested in drinking Cuban coffee and reading the newspaper and smoking cigarettes than making phone calls and following up on their leads. And I didn't fit into that culture. I mean, I did well. I won awards. I sold a lot of cars. But the salesperson in me had a different approach in that my eyes were open. I sold quite a few cars from the lobby of the service area, Becky, because I engaged with the people. And I remember one incident, I'll never forget it. This family came to buy a car. The father and mother, son, wife, and about 2 kids, and they wanted to buy a car. So in those days, we take them on a test drive. So, you got to be aware of your client. So they were looking at their watch. I said, what's wrong? Is everything okay? Well, we haven't had lunch. We'd like to get something. I said, well, we're going to go on a test drive. There's a Burger King right around the corner. Let's go there and have lunch. We went on the test drive. They drove the car. We had lunch. We came back. They were shopping. So we made the proposal, showed them the numbers, and said, okay, we'll think about it and we'll come back. That same afternoon, I get a phone call from the son. And he says, the phone call went like, Lincoln, we are this other dealership down south here in Homestead. But my dad wants to buy the car from you. And this is what this dealership is offering us. Can you match it? If you can match it, we'll come right back and get the car from you. We were able to match it. They came back and they bought the car from me. It's about relationship. It's about, and I found out it's about relationships. Life is about relationships.
Amen.
Okay. Yeah. And then in 2008, again, I had relocated from Houston, Texas to Atlanta, and I was looking for a job in training and development. That's my calling. That's my gift. That's what I have the biggest passion for. And I get this phone call out of the blue. Somebody who knew me had given my resume to a recruiter at Auto Trader. And the call went, Lincoln, Mr. Kokaram, are you still looking for something, for a job? I said, well, I'm open-minded. I'm always open-minded, what you have. Well, we're looking for a learning manager, and we look at your resume and you match what we're looking for. Would you like to do an interview? And to cut a long story short, I was interviewed and I was hired in January of 2008. And I spent 7 years at Auto Trader, loving it. I trained all the district sales managers. I ran the sales leadership program for 5 years. Out of those 7 years, I connected with all these, high potential salespeople who went out into the dealerships. As I told you earlier before, I got to actually visit auto dealers and share selling cars with passion. And they all loved it. And the response was, we need this. Because think about it, Becky. Most people who are in the car business, they just fell into the car business. And it was a job, not a career. Because they are not trained to see the benefits of making this your career. But think about in high school, when on career day, how many people talking about being a car salesperson? I would say.
Well, let me ask you a question, Lincoln.
Yes.
So, I've had my live talks with Becky Chernek. for a while now, and you reached out and you said, "Hey, I'd love to be on your show. I would love to be on this." So why? What is it that you're, what's the reason? What do you want to achieve here? What do you want dealers to hear, see, understand about who you are? I mean, passion is good. I mean, passion is why we do what we do. But what do you hope that dealers start really resonating about changing how they do things? Tell us.
Well, I have a heart for the automotive industry. Having spent 8 years, in the industry, and it's a very important industry. Think about how important getting a car, a vehicle, is the second most expensive item the average person would purchase in their lifetime, and they don't just buy one. I mean, how many cars have you owned, Becky? Think about
Well,
it.
but I've leased a lot.
Yeah, a lot, right? After your home, that's the second. And then, in fact, some people spend more waking hours in their car than in their home. And think about you see, the salespeople in the auto, they're not coached to see how important what they do is to society, to the world, not only the economy of the dealership, but the world's economy. When you sell
So are you more for the consumer or are you more for the dealer? What is
well, we
your
can't,
what is your thing?
yeah, I don't think we can separate the consumer from the dealer.
You don't. Okay. Okay.
No, because the dealer has to take good care of the consumer. Because in any business, repeat business is what keeps the business growing. And auto industry, people buy an average 3, 4, 5 cars in their lifetime, and they have friends, and they have relatives, and then they get children, and they have to get nowadays, the day somebody turns 16, what's the first thing they want to do? Get a driver's license.
I
And then
don't
they,
know anymore. I hear that, but Lincoln, I think that that's changing up. I don't think it's like what I used to. I I don't know if it was Brian Benstock or one of them, but I was listening to in Clubhouse and he was talking about it always used to be about freedom. You couldn't wait to get in a car and take off and have your dream car come true. I mean, that was me. I was just like, man, oh man, I can't wait till I get my car. I'm going to have my car. I'm going to dream. I have my freedom. And I'm not sure about this today. I'm really am not. I'm serious. I don't know. I mean, I think that some are like, I let me just have it month to month. In fact, there are dealers who are now considering subscriptions or some other type of service where we're not tying down to a long-term payment option, and I don't know, or I think that in of itself is changing.
but the thing about it is you got to address the needs of your customers. Not everybody want to go into a subscription. There are still people who want to own the car. There are some people who would lease the car. There are some people who would prefer to use Uber because, depending on where you live, like if you're living in Boston, they got a very great, public transport system. You may not need the car. You can get around, but it's still a matter of choice. And if you look at the numbers, car sales are still going up. I mean, the COVID took a little hit and the microchip took a little hit, but people are still buying cars. People are still renting cars and leasing cars. And it's part of our culture. And the way we do it might change a little bit, but you still need a vehicle. You may not be the one getting it, but somebody else have to get it to drive you around.
I think that it's important. I get the relationship. I understand the relationship. It makes sense. And we need to take care of customers first. I mean, we have a comment here. Take care of the customer first will always win. I agree with that. But we also need to understand that, I don't know, some of the ways that we used to do business that we always relied on may be changing.
Well, I wouldn't say maybe, Becky. I would say it has changed.
Okay.
The way people buy and sell cars has changed. And the dealers who have embraced the change and adjusted to the change are getting ahead. Like, I went to this particular dealer. Every single sales rep had a iPad, no paper.
Right.
Everything was digital. So that speed up the whole process.
Is that really realistic though? I mean,
But it's
are
working.
every dealer utilizing iPads today? I mean, and also are they allowing their sales associate to carry around this, the iPad today?
But it's working.
I don't disagree. I think, to me, technology is very key. It doesn't have to, it's not replacing the human factor. It certainly is there to enhance the overall experience, right? And
It's,
how we relate to our customers.
yeah,
So
it's a tool. It's
Mercedes
a
to drop
tool.
10% of dealers will focus on direct and on. I have no idea who you are. So you have to let me know who you are. Facebook user. Um, so Mercedes to drop 10% of dealers will focus on direct and online sales. Up to 20% of showrooms in Germany will be axed. And you're right. And that's what's coming. And so now with EV, especially, there's more and more talk about direct from manufacturer and getting rid of the middleman, meaning the franchise dealers on this.
But how long would that take? I mean, look at, okay,
Pretty.
10%. What about, we have 90% still there, 20%, we still have 80% still there. And that's just Mercedes Benz.
Well,
And
you're talking Ford. There's a lot of others that are really thinking about this European model. I had Brian Posh on a couple weeks back, and he was talking about, hey, giddy up. Let me say this, that direct sales is happening, especially when they're seeing this EV, and EV is there is this opportunity for dealers for OEM to get around the franchise agreements.
Becky, in almost all sales world, they've been talking about online and having less need for salespeople. But people are people, and they want to interact with another person at some stage in the process. And relationships again. I mean, they want to talk to somebody, they want that second opinion. And that's where the value of the professional salesperson comes to play. So it might reduce the number, but they're still going to have need for salespeople. I've been hearing about this online thing for over 20 years now. But salespeople are still doing well.
I think, no, I don't care. See, the thing is, you're right. It's all about the customer contact, right? And engaging with that customer sooner rather than later, and really establishing that relationship. So this is why I think I don't care how the customer wants to contact, right? How the customer wants to engage any which way that the customer may want to engage, but whether online, in dealership, but communicate certainly the customer way. So we have another comment. Perkins, good to see you. Glad you're here. How's the direct to consumer going to work when the vehicle needs some form of service? Got a good point there.
Very, very good point. And you see, this is another thing I like our dealers to look at, is the dealership is operating in silos. You have the service department, you have the new car department, you have the used car department, you have the sales parts department. Now, if all of them could come together, think about it. Just look at this situation. Let's make up a situation. A person comes to get their car serviced. They need to replace it. It's like a $5,000 job. To me, that's an opportunity to replace that car. that's an opportunity to replace that car. The owner of the car doesn't know that's an opportunity to introduce that person to, hey, take a look at this. That $5,000 can go towards a new car. And you don't have to worry about repairs and service. For a lot of dealers or a lot of manufacturers are offering free service for so many years. At least you're giving the owner of your customer an option. So
Which
when
I
we get,
think is really important, that you do need to, make sure that you do have the ability to offer customers the option to. It's like Steve Apicella says, it's the before, during, and after piece, after sale, and so many. I think dealers still rely on that. Hey, let's have that sale, and whatever we do, we got to sell a car. I get that. But, it's also about the after sale. It's also about, are we retaining that customer? Is this long-term thinking, or is it just short-term thinking? Like our salespeople. It's like we bring these salespeople on with I don't think we're thinking much on that long-term thinking, how, and development.
you're right, and think about it. If I'm a salesperson, think about the information that I have on this customer. I know their date of birth. I know where they live. I have their home address. All this important information. Think about the impact. On that person's birthday, they get a birthday card from the dealership. Then follow up. 30 days after they buy the car, a phone call. Hey, how's it going? How is the car working for you? Is this happening today? I don't think so. But keeping in touch with the anniversary date of the car, when you bought the car, surprise your dealers, your customers in a nice and special way, and they will learn to appreciate you. They will refer you to their friends and their relatives, and your business is going to grow. And it doesn't takes a lot. It doesn't cost a lot of money to send. You can go to the dollar store and get birthday cards and thank you
I don't
cards.
know how often that happens anymore. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's something that I'm going to date myself, Lincoln here, but my dad he was adamant about, so my dad was a car dealer, and before he had his dealership, he ran Chesapeake Cadillac, and so his thing with me was, look, you got to call the customer. So I'm going to share this with you. May not be the best thing, but that's just how my dad was. His analogy. He was all about analogies. So dad said to me, he says, think of it this way. So a guy takes you out, Becky, and he wines and dines you, wines and dines you. Where do you think this is going, Lincoln? And so he says, all right, so you guys end up together, and he doesn't call you the next day. How does that make you feel? I'm like, Dad, come on. But Becky, how does that make you feel? And I'm like, it makes me feel horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But, the thing is, whether right, wrong, or indifferent, whether I did or didn't, the reality of it is, the analogy is so true. Why aren't we doing, once that customer purchases that vehicle from us, where's the relationship? What are we doing? Why aren't we back in front of that customer sooner rather than later? So this was something that I was taught to do. And I always found that when I caught the customer after sale and they were not, thinking that I was calling and I was going, man, how do you like that car? Or what? Is this like awesome? Is this like not the best thing since sliced bread? They're like, Beck, you know what? I'm so glad you called. I have a family member that I showed the car to.
It works.
We're on the same
Becky.
page, aren't we, Lincoln?
It works, Becky. Follow up and follow through. It doesn't cost you a lot. A phone call, an email, a text. And and ask for permission. In sales, when you ask for permission, you have a higher probability that people are going to do what you want them to do. Like I like to ask people, how would you like me to keep in touch with you? Do you prefer text? Do you prefer email or a phone call? When you give people options, they can't say no. They will select one. I like that. If you don't ask, you don't get. Somebody I learned recently, if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Amen. It really
Yeah.
is. It
Yeah.
really is. So are dealers doing what they need to do? And I'm talking to some of you guys out here as well, Perkins and Richie Bello and Mike. I mean, what do you think? I mean, are dealers really doing what they can do to help hire? Are they training? What are they training, right? Are they supporting their sales team? As Lincoln points out, and helping to retain these people in their stores, right? And I mean, culture is everything. Here's what I do know. Talented folks want to hang out with talented folks. They don't want to hang out with others who don't quite get it. So, I really would love to hear, your I mean, are we changing? Is it really is it happening? And if it's not happening, why do you suppose it's not happening, Lincoln?
Well, Becky, people don't leave companies, they leave managers. And most of the managers who are in the dealership, I would dare say, they were promoted to a manager because they were a great salesperson. How much management training are they getting? How much leadership training are they getting? How much team building training are they getting? How much, 80% of how we behave is impacted by how we feel. How much emotional intelligence training are they getting? People buy from people who they like. We have to train our people to make themselves likable. People buy from people who they trust. We got to train our people to be trustworthy. And then integrity.
That's a big one.
Yeah. So it's, people do what you train them to do. And what most of the training would be, a new rep comes in, well, this is the functions and features of the vehicle. And this is how you do a test drive. And what about establishing relationship? Follow up and follow through. Some people are just shoppers. Then you have to recognize that everybody don't have different buying styles. Some people, they just want to know what's the number and what's the monthly payment. So how much time is spent finding out what kind of buyer am I talking to? And to be sensible to that. And then the other thing is to recognize the husband and wife walk into the dealership. I've seen salespeople ignore the wife
I've
and
seen
lose
that
the
too.
sale because they don't know she's the one who is influencing the decision. So you got to include everybody in the process. And then the delivery. Oh my goodness. The delivery of the car. Do you introduce them? This is our parts department. This is our service department. Introduce them to the service manager. It's about relationships. It's all about relationship and building strong relationships.
So do you think this online technology is helping to bridge this gap? I mean, to help to develop better relationships and create a more robust buying experience. Do you believe in that?
Well, it works to a point, Becky, but you cannot remove the personal touch.
What do
People
you mean
still
by that?
people still want that personal, that human moment. That human moment. You can't remove that. And that's what separates a great salesperson from an average salesperson. Even if they buy the car online from the dealer,
Mm-hmm.
you have the information, reach out. Hey, I saw you took delivery of this Mercedes Benz a month ago. How's it going for you? How do you like it? So you keep that human touch.
Well,
That's
where
so
I was going
important.
with that so much, like from the very beginning, from time, the customer, excuse me, touches down on the dealership website to from there to getting getting involved with that customer online to in dealership. What do you suppose that transition's all about? Do you think that these guys are are getting better with that, or is that, I mean, because here's my thing. I think that if we don't, customers, they want to start something online, and when they get in the dealership, they want to be able to know that some of that was that we're all on the same page, right? That I'm not starting a deal only to forget it all happened and starting the process all over again. I guess that's
Start the process online. The dealer, people in the dealership has to be aware of it and to be ready when
how
that
often do
customer.
you think that that happens?
I don't know, Becky. You might know better than me, but I don't think it's happening a lot.
It
I,
doesn't. So
I think when the customer walk in and they say, "Oh, I filled out the form online. Oh, well, let me go check." You should know
should
and be
know.
aware.
Like you said with that iPad, right? That customer is coming in. You should know that that customer is coming in, what
Yeah,
the
and
terms are that they've
yeah,
agreed to.
yep.
Here is what Perkins says: incentivize your dealership staff to continue to further their education. Provide it and reward them for wanting to become a better automotive expert. What are your thoughts there? Incentivize your dealership staff to continue to further their education. So now we're incentivizing our sales staff to get more educated, provide it and reward them for wanting to become a better automotive expert. Now, I will tell you about me. My thing was I incentivized myself because the more information I was willing to, I took in really helped me to get to the next level. So I realized there's not a lot of me out there. No, I'm just kidding. just, but is that what we need to do today? Hey, there's Larry. Larry, good to see you. Sorry. So what do you think, Lincoln? Is it
Well,
something that we should
I
be
believe
doing?
that people should take ownership of their growth and development because they carry their learning wherever they go. And when they take ownership, they're more invested in it than if they're doing it just for an incentive. You should take, and learning is a process, it's not an event. And then, and they should know that any living organism that stops growing begins to die. Too many people in the dealership have flatlined. They're
Yeah.
not getting better.
Yeah.
They're not looking for ways to get better. And they're not challenging themselves. How can we do better?
So do you incentivize to make that better?
I don't agree with that.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about Mike. We work to sell the customer in the store, but we fail far to often, when they don't buy. The follow-up with sold and unsold customers is lacking in most stores. He's so freaking right. The easiest sell is the referral. The hardest sell is to follow up that you don't make. How do you make customers a buyer if you don't follow up?
They ain't going to be here by. You got to follow up. Hey, thank you. And thank you for coming in yesterday. I just wanted to check in with you to see how your process is going. Um, would you like to take a second look at what we have to offer? Follow up, connection. Yeah.
I mean, connection is everything. It's all about, that first date, second date, third date, whatever. But, what I shared, might seem like a bit, on the harsh side. That was the old car guy. But I gotta say, it hit home. It was like, come on, if do unto others as you want to have them do to you. It just makes sense. I just bought this car from you. Make me like you. Make me feel like, man, you're the best person. I'm so glad I bought it from. I enjoy this car buying experience. I want to hear about it tomorrow. And I might not say, might say, hey, Beck, it was awesome. I loved it. It's great. Here's the other thing that I talk about a lot of times. I talk about aftermarket sales. Maybe a customer in that micro moment of the menu presentation, as my buddy Steve Apicella, and I'm so surprised he's not here tonight. But anyway, Stephen Apicella will talk about this micro moment of the menu sale. And some customers, they're not buying a product then. They may not buy. They're like, you know what? It doesn't matter what you say, how you say it, what you do. But here's the thing. I don't know if you know the company called Endurance or not, but let me tell you, Endurance, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but Endurance offers customers after sale products. So when that customer leaves the dealership, they're on the phone and they're contacting that customer as soon as that public report is made. They're contacting that customer. Did you buy a service contract? We're here to sell you one. So here's the thing. Why aren't we back in front of our own customers after the customer has taken delivery and didn't buy a product or a service, right? What are we doing?
What we're not doing.
I'm like, are you kidding me? That is like untapped reservoir of opportunity. And everybody's like, Becky, you're not. I'm not. I know what I'm talking about. You allow these other companies to come in and take that book of business. Why would you do that? Why aren't we in front of the customer after delivery and even in the service department? And hey, I noticed that you didn't take advantage of the service contract. I know you didn't take advantage of my tire and wheel. You may want to rethink that, right? And I know it can be a valuable product. And I will tell you this, a lot of times we revisit that with the customer when they're more calm, when they don't feel as if they're in that overload moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll might rethink that decision. So Perkins has something to share. Becky, what's your secret? Every time I see you, you look younger. I didn't expect that, Perkins. I really appreciate that. You're my buddy. um, it's my makeup. No. But thank you. And it is about, being, on top of your game. It really is all about being on top of your game, doing whatever that it takes to make things happen. So this was one of the reasons why I was so excited to talk to you, Lincoln, because everything, we do with passion, we serve. And I know someone told me a while ago, they said, what is the definition of a manager? And I said to them, you tell me, what is the definition of a manager? What is a definition of a manager? I bet you know it, Lincoln.
Well, I have my concept of a manager. You're managing people first and then process. Good managers, they grow their people. They grow their people. When you train your people and you grow them, they will take care of the process. They will take care of the day-to-day. You don't have to be watching over their shoulder all the time. I judge a manager and a leader by what they have taught me, what I learned from them. A manager is a coach.
That's right. A manager is a coach. And
Yeah.
here's the other thing. Long time ago, I don't know if it was my dad, but I will say that I was told that a manager is the one who serves. They're the ones who serve. And they're the ones who guide. And they're the ones who lead to greener pastures, right? And that was a wow moment because I find myself, I do serve. I care. I care about the industry and the opportunity because the way I also see it, now, not every car dealer is right, and plenty of them make all kinds of bad mistakes. They really freaking do. They just do. But they really help the community, and God knows we need them because there's a lot of people who they hire, employ, and um, let's face it, that have worked with many dealers for many years, right? So we have to do a better job in serving those to help, to lead, to bring them to a higher success. That's kind of how I see it. Then we have, oh, Miss Christine Farnan's on, my buddy. And Mike says this. So I'll let you read it. So go ahead. We sell $40,000 cars and trucks, but do we deliver $40,000 worth of self and dealership value? Value is always in the eye of the buyer. Do we overpromise and underdeliver, or do we underpromise and overdeliver? Take care of your customer, and I promise they and their friends and family will take care of yours. So Mike, awesome, good stuff here. That's really awesome. So do we do that? Now, today, especially more so than ever, I mean, dealers are making all kinds of profit on these new cars. I mean, some of them are marking it up way above MSRP. Are we doing is that a good thing? And dealers are entitled to their profit. There's no doubt about it. But how do we maintain that relationship? How do we, in 8 months down the road, are we kind of like, are we going to be paying the piper for all this? How's that all going to work out? Lincoln, do you think?
Well, we talked about this earlier. How often do we keep in touch? Phone call, text message, a birthday card, an anniversary card on the day you bought the car from us. Any opportunity to connect with that customer, to stay in touch. To Mike's comment here, that's going the extra mile. That's going the extra mile, and you will be rewarded with a long-term relationship. Because people don't buy one car in their lifetime. I mean, there might be the exception, but people don't buy one car in their lifetime. And they have friends, and they have family, and they have co-workers. And when you buy a new car, what do you want to talk about? My new car. But you also want to talk about the sales experience.
Amen.
And you want to tell them good things about the sales experience, but they're not going to lie. They're not going to lie. So make it a great experience and a long-lasting experience. And you can.
I think so too. And I got to tell you, especially with customers, not just our prime customers, but I think too that if we do a better job with our customers that might not have the best credit, who might have some slow pay history, those are the customers, if we take care of today, will be back time and time and time again. It's just not about that micro moment. Let me go ahead. Let me hit it. Let me have, maybe the biggest return on this deal. So it's about doing the right thing by that customer and getting them back in the dealership time and time again. So here we go, Lincoln. I want to thank you so much. I know you pointed out we can't do this hour long tonight, and Lincoln has another training session he needs to be on. So parting words, Lincoln, if you wouldn't mind.
Parting words. We need to get our salespeople to look at the big picture. I walk into a dealership once and I asked a sales guy, "What are you doing?" He said, "What do you mean what I'm doing? I'm in a sales dealer. I'm selling cars." And I walk into another dealership, and the guy said, "Well, I'm selling the best import in the whole wide world." And I walk into a third dealership and I asked the guy, "What are you doing?" He said, "What's your name?" I said, "Lincoln." He said, "Mr. Lincoln, let me tell you what I'm doing. I'm providing real reliable transportation so moms and dad can take their kids to school and back. They can take them to the ball game, to piano practice, to And then he said, come, let me show you something. And he took me to the service department. And he said, you see all those guys working there? I keep them employed. I provide customers for them to get employed. And then he took me back to his cube and he showed me the buyer's order. He said, you see this tax? I keep the government employed. This guy saw the big picture. Too many people, they got blinders on. Open your eyes to the importance of this industry. It has a big impact on a majority of people. Look at the big picture.
Mike,
Thank you.
thank you, Mike, too. Thank you, both of you, for your time and your opinions tonight. Mike, thank you so much. Certainly, Christine Farnan, thank you, as well as Perkins. Good to see you, Perkins. You've been, I haven't, I'm glad that you were able to be here tonight. Thank you, Christine. And she's a doll. She really is she's definitely a good person. I told Christine, you need to be on this tonight. Check out Lincoln. And Lincoln, thank you so very much. I know that you really talk the truth about what's it going to take to go ahead and impact in a positive way your business. So thank you for coming on my show.
Thank
And I'm
you.
glad that
Thank you for having me.
you were here today. It was certainly, again, a pleasure. So, all right, with that, we're going to go ahead and say goodnight.
Good night.